Hi there everyone, today we're going to look at area of trapeziums, how to work out the area of trapezium. But first of all I just wanted to talk to you about what a trapezium is. Now the definition of a trapezium is you've got one set of parallel lines, so that would be in this case A and B, and another set of lines which are not parallel. Alright, that's the definition of a trapezium. People often say, oh, it looks like a roof, which I guess in this case it kind of does, but it does not need to be look quite like that. It's just essentially all we're looking at is the fact that these two are parallel, but these two are not. All right, so that's kind of important to recognise that that's the definition of trapezium. Right, now to work out the area of trapezium, because this length and this length are different, obviously not quite the same as a rectangle, is that like you would do a rectangle and like you would do a parallelogram, I still want to times something by its perpendicular height, but these two numbers here are different. Alright, so I can't do base times height because I'm missing this little bit. I can't do that times the height because I've got this additional bit added on. So the only way that it's going to work is if you take an average of these two. Okay, so if I take an average of these two, then what I'm going to do is add the two together and divide by however many there are, just the two of them. Alright, so your formula is essentially this is add the two together, half it and times it by height. But essentially it's your average of the two. So here we go, let's look at an example. So you might find me applying this formula, but essentially it's all about this first bit to start with, because I'm going to times it by its height. So 2 plus 6 is going to give me 8, and then half it is going to give me 4. All right, if you can look at this, well, it's like halfway in between, isn't it? So what's halfway between 2 and 6? Well, 4. So that's my average. So we'll do 4 times 5. But let's all write that down. So you're going to have a plus b divided by 2 times by height, sometimes written half a plus bh, but it's so 2 plus 6 is 8 divided by 2 is 4 times by 5 is 20. All right, there you go. So looking at this one, and again I wanted to throw this example in there because based on what I said at the beginning, you'll notice that this one and this one are not parallel, and therefore these two form the top and bottom. These are your A and B, but I can kind of ignore this 5 and don't really need it. So average between 10 and 12. So if I was going to add them, 22, and half it's going to be 11. But hopefully you can see that's the average in there anyway. But let's use the formula. So 10 plus 12 is 22 divided by 2, 11, and then times it by 4. It's going to give us 44. And again, meters squared. Keep your eye on those units. All right. So not too bad. All right. It's just understanding that idea of it's the average of these two. All right. And again, you'll come across a formula which looks a lot like these that I've written down. I think sometimes it's half bracket a plus b h is what you often see, but obviously it can be written in different ways. Right, so let's work backwards. So here we go. So you've got, this time around, you've got 3 and 5 at the bottom, and then you've got 16. All right, so because we did a little bit more with the kind of calculation, I am still looking to work backwards from it. And if you try and think about what you did, I did something times that to give you this. So I'm going to do 16 divided by something to get this. All right, so what do I divide it by? Well, I can't divide it by either of these two, because what I did originally is I took an average of these two. So this was the formula, but I'm trying to think of a little bit more logically about not overcomplicating it. It's going to be 16, and then the average of this lot. So what I did is 3 plus 5 divided by 2, and you might want to do that first. So 3 plus 5 is 8 divided by 2, so the average is 4. So I'm going to do 16 divided by 4. All right, there you go, 16 divided by 4. So I think sometimes these lines overcomplicate it. Try and think about getting the average of these two, and then just doing 16 divided by 4. All right, this is just using the formula as exactly as you see it, isn't it? It's very much put the numbers in. Area is this. Let's put the numbers in as you see it, and then rearrange it. Okay, so again, there's nothing wrong with any of it. It's just sometimes I think actually find the average of these, that's 4, and do 16 divided by 4. That's going to give me this. All right, so let's see if it applies for this one. So, so 21 diagonal we ignore, and it's this. All right, so working backwards, I don't have these two, so I've got this one. But remember, I did this times the average of these two to get this, didn't I? So if I do 21 divided by 3, it's going to give me 7. And then, so what I've done is 7 times, so 21 divided by 3 is 7. That means the average of these two is 7. Oh, yeah, the average of these two is 7. So what's that number going to be if the average of that one and that one is 7? All right. Well, you might be able to do that in your head, and you might not. So if you can't do it in your head, then at this point, you might need to use the formula as you see it. All right, so let's try with the formula and see if that works any better. So you've got 21 is equal to that plus that divided by 2 and times it by 3. All right, so divide by 3 first of all, and then times by the 2. So taking these two bits away, so divide opposite that one, divide by 3 and times by 2. That gives you this lot, and that's going to leave you with this bracket. So you've got 14 equals c plus 6. Take away the 6, so c is going to be 8. All right. So just thinking about what I was talking about before. So 21 divided by 3 is going to give you 7, and the average of 6 and 8 is 7, isn't it? All right. So if you can think about how that's come about, then it might find it a little bit easier. But of course, if you're not sure, then applying and using a formula is going to support you in terms of making sure you're able to do this. Now, from my perspective, when you're looking at these ones over here, this is not just about applying a formula. This is about applying a formula and rearranging it confidently, which I think sometimes students find a little bit more of a challenge. All right. So my suggestion would be is please go onto maths-school.co.uk and get some practice on this. So specifically area of trapeziums. But if you're not convinced or not sure about this kind of process, then please also look at rearranging a formula, because again, it's a very, very important skill set that you will need for all aspects of maths. All right. Well, thanks for listening.